Good morning, students. This is your English teacher Anubha Chatterjee. Today we will start with a poem. The name of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum Area. The poem is written by Stephen Spender. He was a very famous poet and essayist. So, he had tried to explain us the shabby conditions of the elementary school in any slum. You must have also seen many slum schools in your area, in the village, and you must have seen the dilapidated conditions of the school, the broken building, the leaking to rooftops, the cattle's grazing around, and you must have wondered how these children can study here. So, in this poem also, the poet wants to tell us or describes an elementary school slum which is in very miserable condition. So let us see what the poet wants to tell us. In this poem, the children of an elementary slum school look pathetic and miserable. He is describing the conditions of the school children. Here, the word pathetic means in a very pitiable condition. They are very poor children living in the suburb, around the school, in the villages. And these children are very shabbily dressed. They have pale faces. That means they have no luster on their face because perhaps they are very poor and they don't get enough food to eat. Their disorderly hair looks like rootless weeds. And these children, I think, have never combed their hair for years. So their hair look like rootless weeds. Weeds means grasses that are grown here and there. And their hair also looks like that because they have never been combed. They are stunted figures. Stunted figures means they are very short in height because they don't even get proper food to eat. With twisted bones. Their bones are also twisted because they lack calcium. They are very malnourished. They have inherited these diseases perhaps from their parents because their parents are also very poor. They don't get enough food to eat and they are also very much diseased. They belong to the dirty world of cramped holes. What do you understand by the cramped holes? That they live in a very small houses, perhaps a very small room where around 10 to 15 people live together. The map of the world on the wall symbolizes the world of the powerful, rich and important people. You must have seen the maps on the walls in your school or elsewhere, which shows that the world is so big, and they will show you the big cities and big places. In the similar way, There are maps hanging around the walls of the school. But to these children, these maps don't matter anything because they don't know anything about the world around them. So, the gap between the two worlds can be abridged if these children are removed from their dirty surroundings and made to enjoy fresh air and have physical as well as mental development. So, the poet in this poem wants us to realize the difference between the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, the clean people and the dirty people. So he wants to say that let us remove the gap between these children and bring them to light, make them learn something, and let them enjoy the world they have never seen, the fresh air, the physical as well as mental development. The poet here wants that the student should be physically and mentally developed. So, let us now see what the first paragraph of this poem says. So, I will read the first para and then explain to you. Far from gusty waves, these children's faces look rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pallor, the tall girl with her weighted down head, the paper seeming boys with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's garnal disease. So now let us see what each line says. So the children of an elementary school classroom in a slum look pathetic and miserable. They look very shabby. They are in a pitiable conditions and their faces are all textureless. It has lost the shine of a young face. They have pale and lifeless faces. That means the faces are not at all bright. They are all lustreless. Their hairs are like rootless weeds. That means they are disorderly hair and torn around and look rootless weeds. Rootless weeds means those grasses grown anywhere in the field, and the hair also looks like that because they have been never combed for years. They are depressed and keep their head down. So, in this third line, you see the tall girl with a weighted down head. So, this line shows that there is a girl who is quite tall, but her head is drooping down. Why? Because she is very, very sick. She cannot stand straight and keeps her head down always. The paper seeming boy. What does this word means? The paper seeming words. That means there is a boy in the classroom who is very thin. He is thin as a paper, and his eyes are like rats. They are very, very small. The stunted, unlucky hair. What does the word mean? Stunted? Stunted means a person whose height is very short. He is an unlucky hair. Unlucky hair means the person who has inherited his father's quality of twisted bones. How his father is? The father is also quite twisted because of malnourished because his father is also very sick. He is malnourished, his bones are twisted, and the same thing the son has also inherited. Reciting a father's garland disease. That means this paper simming boy has also inherited the disease of his father, because his father is also very sick and the boy is also very lean and thin. He has very, very small eyes and his height is also not so tall. Now let us see. But they do have dreams. These boys, though they are sick, though they are very lean and thin, they have dreams in their eyes. And what are the dreams? A sweet young boy is sitting unnoted at the back of the dim classroom. So let us see what happens next. His lessons from his desk at back of the dim class. So there is another boy sitting at the back of the classroom, perhaps in the last desk. The classrooms are dim because there are no lights. It is all dark everywhere. One unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream. So you see, there is a small boy sitting at the back of the classroom. There is no light and no one has noticed him. He is a very sweet little boy and he has lots of dreams in his eyes. That means perhaps he wants to study, he wants to do a job, he wants to do so many things. These are all his dreams. But what he does, he is very dull and the classroom is also very dull. And this boy, perhaps though he is having lots of dreams in his eyes, he is thinking about the squirrel game in tree room other than this. So this boy, though he is having lots of dreams in his eyes, he is thinking or looking around. There is a squirrel who's playing around the tree and he is looking there because the classroom is very dull. There is no light and he is not interested in studies. Now let us see what happens in the next paragraph. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities, belled, flowery, tyrolis valley, open-handed map. So let us see in the next paragraph what the children are about to say or what the poem wants to tell us through these lines. The gift given as donations and the pictures of Shakespeare's head are hung on the unpleasant creamy wall. So here the school perhaps must be once a very new building when it was built, and many people must have donated beautiful gifts to the school. But now, as the school building has become very old and broken, and perhaps it must have never been whitewashed since many years, the wall color, which was once upon a time white in color, now it looks creamy in color. Creamy in color means you must have seen the cream over the milk, which is like a very pale yellow color. and the wall now looks like a pale yellow creamy wall, and the donations that were once given still hang on the walls. The Shakespeare's head is hanging on the wall, but these children, they don't know who is Shakespeare, because nobody must have told him, told the boys or the children of the school that who is Shakespeare. And so the children are not interested in Shakespeare, whether it is hanging upside down or it may fall someday. Nobody is interested in these things. But these are useless to these unfortunate children because they don't know the value of Shakespeare. So they are useless gifts for these children. In the early morning, the sky is cloudless. So here you see cloudless at dawn. Cloudless at dawn means early morning. The sky is quite clear. There are no clouds on the sky. Civilized domes. What does the word mean, civilized domes? Domes, you must have seen that many big buildings have domes, rounded domes on the top of the building. Like you must have seen the Taj Mahal, it has domes. You must have seen the R.R.B University, it is also having the domes. So, here the poet wants to explain that civilized domes riding all cities. That means there are lots of civilized buildings, well painted buildings with lots of huge domes on the top of the roof. Domes of the institutes of the civilized world shine in every city. So in every city you must have seen there are large domes that are all around the cities. So are they a Tyrol village. So there is a Tyrol valley, belled flowery tyrolis valley. What is the meaning of tyrolis valley? Here in the book you are having the meaning of the Tyroli valley. It is a very, very beautiful place in the Austrian Alpine province. So, Tyrolis Valley is very famous for its flowers and the Alpine province. Now let us see what the poet has to tell further. The Tyrol Valley, music of bells and fragrance of flowers pervade there. So, this valley is quite musical, where the bell rings and there are beautiful flowers with fragrance spread all over. The map of this world is made and reshaped by people in power. So the poet says that the map of this world has been made by rich and powerful people so that they can live in a beautiful world. But these children, they have got no such chances. Here, let us read further. Awarding the world its world, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their futures painted with a fog. So the poet says that though Rich and powerful people have made this world a really beautiful world to live in. But for these children, though that world is all meaningless because they have never seen those places, those beautiful places. They have only seen slums and meaningless things from their buildings. Whatever they see are all meaningless to them. Their own windows are dirty. The little window that they are having in the school building from where they can see the world outside, they can see the squirrels playing around the trees. But that window too is very, very dirty. Unpleasant surroundings from their world, and they can see only unpleasant things, dirt spread everywhere from that small window. The fog of uncertainty dominates their future. What is fog? Fog means mist where you cannot see anything beyond. So their life starts with the fog. What happens? The life starts with the fog where they cannot see anything beyond. They are doomed to life in narrow streets closed in by the bluish grey sky. They have very small rooms to live in where they are congested, that is congested without any light, and they can see nothing beyond that. They are doomed to live. Doomed to live means those children are referred to here who study in an elementary school classrooms, and these classrooms have very limited space. The windows of the classroom, they are confined only with the narrow streets of the slum that is far away from the open sky and rivers. Their view is full of despair and despondency. The life of the children seems to be bleak. That means they have no future. These slum children, they have no future, and that's why they have no interest in life. Because everything, including their life and future, are painted with a fog. That means you cannot see anything clearly from this distance. So children, for today we end here. We have seen how the slum children study in a very, very shabby classroom where there is no light, no window, no air. The dirt is spread everywhere. And in the next class, we will see what happens to these children further. Thank you.